One of the most common questions I get from my patients after they have tracked their ovulation, did everything to support their uterine lining, and had some fun in the bedroom is there anything I can do now in my 2-week wait to improve implantation? The short answer is yes. But here we're talking about supporting your body instead of actually forcing anything. Hi, I'm Ina, a naturopathic doctor with a focus on fertility and a proud mama of 4 over 30. I'm here to help you understand your body, balance your hormones, and support you getting pregnant naturally. What do we actually need to have in place in order to support implantation? Well, some things to think about are a good uterine lining, proper circulation, a good luteal phase, and proper levels of progesterone. So what can you do to improve implantation? Let's dive in. Number 1, support progesterone naturally. Progesterone actually means pro-gestation, which is the for getting pregnant hormone. It works by stabilizing the uterine lining, which prevents it from shedding, which will bring on your next period. Therefore, the right levels of progesterone actually make all the future steps possible. Progesterone is also a hormone, and like all other hormones, it has a cholesterol backbone. That means that we need good levels of healthy fats in our diets. Women who have chronically avoided fat in their diet actually have weaker luteal phases. Despite the fact that we want to have higher progesterone, you want that higher progesterone to happen naturally. You want to avoid taking any supplements or herbs that will artificially increase your progesterone, artificially ascend by the action of the herb or supplement. That is because if your body senses higher levels of progesterone, even though they're coming from an outside source, actually especially because they're coming from an outside source, it will stop producing its progesterone naturally, will stop giving the signals because it's going to say, hey, we have enough progesterone. This is not what you want. You want is to have a proper curve of progesterone increase as the luteal phase progresses. This will allow your body to continue slowly increasing progesterone, and hopefully once the egg actually implants, it will produce beta HCG, and beta HCG is its own stimulus for increased progesterone. Therefore, the curve will go further up. So don't take things like Vitex, maca root powder, or ashwagandha to increase your progesterone. Do take progesterone if it was prescribed to you, and take it appropriately as prescribed on the specific days that you're supposed to take it. So what can you do to increase progesterone naturally? Well, eating healthy fats is key. So things like avocados, olive oil, fatty fish like salmon and sardines, and seeds and nuts. For a longer list of things to eat, look down in the comments. Point number 2, stabilizing blood sugars. Stabilizing blood sugars is critical in order to get pregnant and allow for implantation. This helps to support progesterone, which is what we're talking about right now, but it also does a bunch of other things that allow the pregnancy to go on. The implantation phase is very sensitive to inflammation and insulin spikes because they signal stress. In order for you to get pregnant, the body must assume that there's no stress at the moment, and the woman does not have to worry about her own survival. So, if you have balanced blood sugar, it will give you steadier progesterone levels, which will mean better implantation. What are some things that you can incorporate in your lifestyle to help balance your blood sugar? Well, things like eating your carbs with proteins and or fats, not skipping meals, and not fasting in this particular phase of your cycle. Eating breakfast. There are actual studies that show that women who eat breakfast get pregnant faster, and avoid sugary snacks and processed foods. Point number 3, avoid inflammatory triggers. To your body, inflammation equals stress equals harder to get pregnant. Again, for all of these points, we're not trying to live perfectly because that is a stressor in itself. We're just trying to decrease the inflammatory load. What are some of the things that you can do to decrease the inflammatory load in your body? Most of these are quite obvious, things like decreasing your alcohol intake, avoid smoking and vaping, avoid excess caffeine because caffeine is actually quite inflammatory. What you can have is about 200 milligrams of caffeine a day, which is about 2 8-ounce cups of brewed coffee. However, the less you have, the better you'll be. Avoid over-exercising in the luteal phase of your period, and avoid acute stress spikes. I know, easier said than done, but we're trying our best. Speaking about stress, we're moving to point number 4, Managing cortisol. I'm sure you've heard a lot about stress and getting pregnant. Even though high levels of stress do not actually mean an inability to get pregnant. But what you need to understand is that your body will always prioritize making cortisol over making progesterone. The reason for that is that cortisol is your stress hormone and it allows you to survive right now versus progesterone, which means getting pregnant, sometime in the future. Therefore, whatever you can do to calm your nervous system will actually increase blood flow to your uterus. When progesterone is up, blood flow to your uterus increases. When cortisol is up, blood flow goes to your limbs so you can, run away from that tiger. Some of the things that you may consider to help bring down that stress level would be going for a walk, doing some breath work, some light yoga, meditation, saying no to draining obligations. And something that many people overlook is getting direct sunlight. What you want to aim for is about 10 to 15 minutes a day of direct sunlight, so no SPF, between the hours of 10 a.m. and 3 p.m. Number 5, and this will be a long one. So here we go. Supplements that support implantation. Vitamin B6. Vitamin B6 actually helps your body make more progesterone, therefore improves the luteal phase quality. Also, vitamin B6 helps to regulate blood sugar and it decreases inflammation, 2 of the points that we spoke about before. And both of those interfere with implantation. Magnesium, specifically magnesium glycinate. Magnesium helps calm the nervous system, which decreases stress, therefore decreases cortisol, and increases blood flow to your uterus. Magnesium is very important in many, many, many reactions throughout the body. And just like one of those reactions, magnesium is key in your body's ability to produce progesterone. It also decreases inflammation, which can disrupt implantation. If you do manage to get the magnesium glycinate form, it is the most calming form of magnesium. It is also one of the best absorbed. The glycine component of magnesium glycinate actually helps increase GABA, which is very important in dealing with the stress response. Therefore, more calming power, which is very important in the 2-week wait. And lastly, it has less of a laxative component and it is better tolerated during the 2-week wait period versus the oxide or citrate forms. Moving on to zinc. Zinc actually directly supports the production of progesterone by the corpus luteum. Quick recap. The egg grows inside of a follicle. The follicle will burst, releasing the egg. What's left behind will turn into the corpus luteum. This corpus luteum is responsible for producing progesterone during the first little while of your pregnancy. In order to support it and make it strong, you need zinc. Another thing about zinc is that it is critical for all quickly dividing cells. So your skin, when you get a cut and then they tell you to put zinc oxide cream on it, the reason that works so well is because of zinc. Zinc actually helps cells that are quickly dividing to be healthy and to support that cell division. Now, your embryo is a mass of very quickly dividing cells, so the right levels of zinc are critical. And just like with your skin, it helps your uterus to repair itself and be more receptive to that baby. Unlike zinc, which we just spoke about, that supports the corpus luteum's ability to produce progesterone, vitamin C actually increases the amount of progesterone that is produced by the corpus luteum. There are actual studies that show that women who have low vitamin C levels, and if they take vitamin C consistently for about 6 to 8 weeks, their luteal phase becomes much better and their progesterone levels increase significantly. Also, vitamin C is a potent antioxidant, and therefore is able to protect the uterine lining during implantation from stress and inflammation. One of my favorite and often overlooked vitamins, vitamin D. If you remember, when we started this video, we talked about implantation and the 2 phases in which it happens. And I told you that I'm going to tell you about a vitamin that helps your uterus becomes more sticky so it can actually catch and hold on to that egg instead of the egg just going right through, boop. This vitamin is vitamin D. Vitamin D actually increases the stickiness of your uterus. It also supports healthy progesterone levels, and it is key in regulating your immune system. So it actually makes your immune system more balanced, where it will react to whatever needs to be reacting, but it also makes it more tolerant so that it's not going to reject your baby. Moving on to omega-3s. Omega-3s are known for reducing inflammation. They reduce inflammation throughout your body, and also specifically in your uterus, making it a better home for your baby. What is less known is that omega-3s also support hormone balance, so your estrogen and progesterone, which is very important for implantation. And lastly, omega-3s are very important for circulation and they enhance the blood flow to your uterus. Now, a few more interesting ones. CoQ10 if you're over 35. CoQ10 is key in getting your cells to have the energy they need to complete the processes that they're meant to do. Even your egg and your uterine lining require energy. To help boost that amount, CoQ10 is critical. Another thing that CoQ10 would do is help prepare your uterine environment to host your baby for the next 9 months. And once the embryo is there, it will protect it from early oxidative stress. Next is NAC, N-acetylcysteine, or NAC. NAC is a very strong antioxidant, and as such, it lowers inflammation in the body and also in the uterus. NAC also improves your cervical mucus, which is important even before you start to get pregnant. But here, it also helps to improve the general environment inside your uterus and make it more receptive to implantation. If you have inflammatory issues or PCOS, this might be key in helping implantation. Folic acid. Although there's a lot of controversy about which form of folic acid to take in order to prevent neural tube defects, the research that is done on regular folic acid. However, about 50% of the population cannot convert the folic acid to its active form. Therefore, the MTHFR, methyl tetrahydride folate, is the form to be used. Now, the way to know if you are actually a good methylator or a poor methylator will be to do a genetic test. However, what you could do is you could just take both forms. Folic acid is necessary in order to support healthy cell growth right after implantation. So this happens before you would know you're pregnant, which is why it is very important to take this one before you even start trying. Next, B complex. Why would you want to take a B complex? Well, the B vitamins actually work better when they're taken together in order to support your hormone balance. And the B vitamins together increase energy in your ovaries and the uterus. Last but not least, a prenatal. A prenatal gives your body a full set of nutrients and minerals that's necessary for early embryo development. It also helps prevent deficiencies that might interfere with implantation of things like iron, folate, iodine, and B vitamins. Generally, a good prenatal will support a healthy uterine lining and a good hormone balance. That was a long list of vitamins and supplements. So which ones would you need? That would depend on what problem you're trying to solve for yourself. So, for instance, if we're trying to get better progesterone, then you would look at things like better healthy fats, vitamin C, magnesium, zinc, and vitamin B6. If you think specifically for implantation, vitamin D is very important. If you're over 35, consider maybe looking into CoQ10. If you have inflammation, like PCOS, then NAC might be important. You can also get many of these from food. So for a list of food items that are high in particular vitamins and nutrients, look in the comments below. Moving on to point number 6, gentle movement only. I know that a lot of people say that if you're used to high intensity exercise, you don't really have to change how you're exercising and how you're doing things. But the implantation phase is a very fragile phase. And if the stress level is seen by your body to be high for whatever reason, it will again always produce cortisol and always decrease progesterone. A lower progesterone means less chances of getting pregnant. So in this 2-week wait period, it would be better to do activities that are less stressful. For example, say yes to walking, stretching, light Pilates, and yoga, and avoid high-intensity interval training, long-distance running, heavy lifting, and anything that can spike your cortisol and increase the abdominal and pelvic heat. Number 7, sleep. Sleep is key for normal functioning of so many systems in our body, and getting pregnant is just one of them. You should aim for about 7 to 8 hours of good quality sleep a night. Proper sleep helps manage all of our hormones, and especially progesterone. Also, it gives the opportunity for your body to detox naturally. Now, you don't want to go and do a detox in your 2-week wait, but you do need to get rid of toxins on a daily basis, and sleep is the time that your body naturally does that. Proper sleep allows your body to decrease inflammation, which is very important during this 2-week wait period, and decrease the inflammatory tone in general so that your body is more able to welcome the embryo during this implantation window. Lastly, sleep helps us to decrease overall cortisol and increase the blood flow to the uterus. Point number 8. Increasing your uterine blood flow. Circulation is very important at this time because you want to make sure that a lot of blood goes to your uterus, carrying oxygen and all of those nutrients from the foods that you've been eating and taking away all the waste and inflammatory byproducts that come out of there. So what can you do to increase circulation to your uterus? Well, one of the things that we talked about is light exercise. Another thing to look at is acupuncture if you have that available, especially with someone who does fertility acupuncture. Choose warmth. According to traditional Chinese medicine, warmth is the best way that we can get more blood flow to the uterus to encourage implantation. So consider things like avoiding cold drinks, eating raw foods, or walking barefoot on cold floors. Instead, choose warm meals, teas, and fluffy socks. Especially warming are things like soups, stews, bone broth, and cooked vegetables, especially now in the winter. Also warming spices like ginger and cinnamon. However, please remember that after you have ovulated, you should give preference to warmth, not heat. Therefore, we do warm socks and warm baths. We don't do hot showers, we don't do jacuzzis or saunas. Also, avoid direct heat to the abdomen. Avoid general cold exposure. No ice baths, cold pools, or generally being in a cold environment. Cold is believed to contract the uterus, which is the opposite of what you want for getting pregnant. Lastly, stay hydrated. That's about 8 glasses of water, generally about 2 liters a day. Point number 9, avoid starting anything new because we don't really know how your body reacts to different things and how it will interpret it, and maybe it will cause stress, will it cause inflammation? These are things we're trying to avoid. Don't start new supplements if you haven't tried them before. This is not the time for a crush diet or a detox or herbs, losing weight, trying out new intense workouts. Just try to keep everything as consistent and level as possible. Point number 10, realistic expectations. There's very little that we can actually do to force implantation to happen. So all we're talking about here is support instead of control. You gotta let go and hope for a calm, stable, well-supported luteal phase. And here are 2 bonus points. Point number 1 are homeopathics. Homeopathics are great in supporting your implantation phase. Specific ones that we would consider using in this particular time are tissue salts. And the famous trio is calc fleur, calc phos, and ferrum phos. Calc fleur will support the health of the uterine lining. Calc phos helps the uterine lining to grow and stay healthy for implantation. And ferrum phos would help blood flow to the uterus during the implantation window. So together, these 3 remedies support uterine lining strength, blood flow to the uterus, and creating a healthy uterine environment for implantation. And lastly, here are some acupressure points. Although seeing a licensed acupuncturist would be wonderful because they can tailor a formula specific to you, here are 3 points that you can gently massage at home to help your body at this time. Point number 1 is right between your eyebrows. This point is called yin tang. What you want to do is you want to gently massage it in circular motions for about 1 to 2 minutes, 1 to 2 times per day. This point helps to calm the mind, therefore decreasing stress and overthinking, thereby decreasing your stress response, decreasing cortisol, and helping increase progesterone. So then by regulating your nervous system, you're helping the implantation environment. Point number 2 is called kidney 3. This point is located on the inside of your ankle, helps to energetically support your hormones and progesterone. The way you want to activate it is by using your thumb and giving gentle pressure for about 30 to 60 seconds, 1 to 2 times a day. The third point is point stomach 36, which is located just below your knee. And this point helps to boost energy and blood flow while also supporting digestion. And this point is great for supporting blood sugar, which also thereby helps to support progesterone. Here you would also apply gentle but firm pressure for about 1 to 2 minutes, 1 to 2 times per day. Hopefully you found this video useful and it gave you some sense of control during this crazy 2-week wait when you don't know what's up and what's down and what's good and what's bad. I've been there myself and I know the feeling. So from one mom to another and from my ND heart to yours, thank you for watching. And just remember, your body is capable, your journey is valid, and you do deserve clarity. I'll see you in the next one.